November 5th, 2024. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Let me get through the Zoom matters before we get. How to participate with public comment. This meeting will be held in the Select Board meeting in the town office and also available through remote and the Zoom platform. Remote participation and/or public comment during the meeting must be submitted through Zoom browser application or by phone at 1-646-558-8656, and entering the meeting ID number is 875-3476-1463, and the passcode of 117880. Be advised, data rates may apply. Attendees must desire to speak by raising their hand, which is *9 on your phone, and this should only happen during the appropriate point for public comment. When called upon, you can unmute your connected device by *6 by phone, and attendees must state their name before commenting. Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. We have one little change. We're moving 13 to 6.5. Requested by the town planner.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? No? Public comment?
Hi, Gary Vincent. I didn't know if you're going to have public comment at the warrant items, so those are the only comments that I have. Number one is on the Mitchell Field Solar. Since the expression of interest has not driven any market interest, I wonder if that even needs to be a warrant item, since it basically is a non-issue in terms of the funding that, or the income that was related to the one proposition.
Would you like me to just comment
Should
on
you
that?
wait until
So-
the agenda?
Well, I'll just respond quickly here. So there was only one response to the town's expression of interest. It's noted in the record, and it's a revision which presented a proposal to the town. They did indicate they're willing to increase the amount that they initially proposed, but we've had no discussions about what that means.
Yeah, just my opinion, you've tested the market isn't there, so to me, it's a moot point.
And that could be the case,
Yeah,
the board
just-
may.
Yeah.
Second, on the warrant items, I see that the plan is to remove the items related to the administrative building. And I just question that from the standpoint of the Mitchell committees pretty much unanimously suggested its demo. And I would think that, given the time that we've had to line up a nonprofit, that it would make sense to have the town vote on funding that. And then the last item is on the boat launch. Would it make sense to include in that warrant item the total investment to date that the town has funded?
Yes, it would.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have it.
I'm going to hand these out, actually. These are revised.
Are you-
Good evening. I'm Mary Ann Nape, talking for the Conservation Commission. Just wanted to let the townspeople know that we're having a presentation by the state's geologist next Wednesday at the community school at 6 p.m. Jessica Meeks is going to speak on understanding a fractured bedrock aquifer of which we all sit on top of, and ideally to answer questions that many of the residents have had about just how we get our water, how much there is, et cetera. So just wanted to put this out there, and hope that you all can attend. If not, there is a QR code on the posters, which are going to be around town, that you can register for a webinar so that you can watch it via Zoom. Thank you.
Oh, I'm up.
if one would like to speak
Oh.
on Bob
I
Goodrow,
state your name.
Bob
Yeah.
Goodrow,
Yep.
if one's to speak, they have to speak now, or is when the item is being discussed?
On each agenda item.
Oh, no, each agenda, no, we can have, make the motion, somebody second it, and then we'll open it up for conversation.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other public comment, select board announcements?
Maybe, do you want to mention the cleanup day, the shore cleanup? Next
Go
weekend,
ahead.
Is it the 13th and 14th or there will be a cleanup of the shore, sponsored, I think, by the Marine Resource Committee. Am I
Oh.
just making that up?
Oh, yep, well, it's one of the conservation days.
Yeah, Conservation Day.
Yep.
And I think they're encouraging the public to do the same.
To help, yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got all of it. Town administrators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'm saddened to have to report that our animal control officer is planning to retire soon. Date yet to be determined, and Jerry Ferrari has done a great job for the town. It may seem like a really simple job, but believe me, you're on call 24/7. The issues are often more related to the people who own the animals, or they're adjacent to property owners who own animals. So there's really a lot of building relationships and understanding what the complaints are and helping to resolve them. So Jerry's done an excellent job in that area, but we need to find someone else. So if anyone's listening, we're going to be putting out an advertisement on our website and probably in
Great,
an
and you just mentioned
upcoming-
how rough the job is, and then ask
Well, I
yourself-
know, I'm just trying to be realistic,
Yes.
because honestly, people need to understand that going into it.
Yeah.
And, we want to find the right person. And so Jerry's going to give us some time, and he's going to be involved in the interview process and
Good,
helping us select someone, so. I'm just trying to have a reality check here. Second item I wanted to mention is, I've received some phone calls from Harpswell residents who've been concerned about the PFAS situation at Brunswick Landing. So I've been in touch with the executive director, I think I talked about this at your last meeting, who was offered to come here and speak to the board. I've also been in touch with DEP. They just issued an advisory on, today's Thursday, it was Tuesday, saying that they had done some sampling in the Harpswell Cove area that relates to the town of Harpswell. They don't have the results yet, so they're just advising that people not boat, swim, or wade in Harpswell Cove. So we have had some questions about that, and we will try to keep people apprised of any information we receive or DEP puts out. I mean, they said this is out of an abundance of caution. Again, it might take a while for migration to occur. There could be some, obviously, there are some existing issues there, PFAS related, so how those are impacted, I think, is yet to be fully understood and determined. But we are keeping an eye on that. And then I think, Terry, you just reminded me, there's a shredding opportunity tomorrow at the recycling center, 9 to 12. So anyone that wants to get rid of all those documents that you don't want anyone to find anywhere, I would invite you to come and take care of it there tomorrow.
Or
Thank
until
you.
the truck is full.
Oh,
So
until the truck
we
is
should go
full?
sooner
Okay.
than later.
Oh, there's going to be a line forming, I think. Thank you.
That's it? No? Consent agenda.
So, how about the minutes?
Yes, I have one, just one small, but I think important correction on number 9 on the back page. The last line, it reads, authorize the use of 15 acres. I believe we were clear it was up to 15 acres. That's it.
No.
Yep. Okay, I move we accept the minutes as revised. And I move that we accept the consent agenda, which is the minutes, accept the Nature Conservancy donation, deferred compensation policy amendment, and authorization of the warrants.
Second.
All in favor? All right. All right, at this point, Mark, you're up.
Did you say it was going to be 6.5? So were you planning to do the
Oh,
wharf
After the,
first?
after the wharf.
Yep, sorry about that.
Okay.
I was going to make Tim wait. I decided I'd better not. It'll be quick.
I'll try to be quick. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Forrest with Flycatcher here on behalf of the owners at 300 Basin Point Road in Harpswell. It's Kevin Wenger and Elizabeth Harrison. This is a proposed recreational dock consisting of a set of stairs, an interim landing, a lower set of stairs, and then a short pier, 26 feet long, 5 by 26 feet, 3 by 42 ramp, and then a 10 by 20-foot float. They'll come out of the backyard, travel across the lawn, through a short section of woods to the start of the steps, and the pier itself, all the piles are pinned down below. The upper ledge section is, we kind of call it friable ledge. It's not necessarily desirable to pin pile legs into, but the lower ledge is definitely solid. So all the permanent structures will be pinned into that. And then it's a seasonal ramp and float, and it's been approved by DEP, the Army Corps. We did go to Planning Board. That was approved, and we're here before you now. And also, there were no comments from abutters, and I believe the harbor master has signed off.
Yes, I have no problems with it.
Nope.
Well, make it quick. I move to approve the application as the harbor master indicates. There's no hazard to navigation, no injury to the rights of others in relation to fishing, fouling, or navigating.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
That's quick. See you later.
Now, 13.
All right, now 13, the municipal warrant, 2024.
So I just want to explain that staff has made a few revisions, and you may or may not agree with the presentation. One of them was to remove the administration building articles. We had understood that there may be a group of entities or people who are willing to lead an effort to develop some plans for renovation of the administration building. So in light of that, we found that it could be confusing to have two articles. It could be confusing to have one with conditions. And if the board is so inclined to want to give time for some type of plan to perhaps be developed, I think there should be a deadline, and you really should consider having something as soon as March. And that could be demolition or rehabilitation. I'm not sure where you'll be at that point, but I think the voters expect at some point to have an opportunity to vote. If you're going to give an entity time, you don't need to have a vote to do that right now.
Right, right.
But we decided, we would leave it off, but it's your call, and you may want to take public comment on that issue tonight. So that was one of the things that we decided. That's why the list was different. We also tonight are providing some of the tweaks that our legal counsel provided, and one of those was noted by a comment earlier, that we've added a note to the article for the bond for the boat launch to let the voters know what the estimated cost of the project will be. And there'll be some more discussion about that. I know the planner is here to give you some information that we got from the engineering firm as soon as yesterday about projected project costs here. And so I do think the voter needs to understand what we are looking at as a total project cost. And I'm not sure that the Mitchell Field Committee had all of this information when it discussed the article. So anyway, we can get into that further. I was just noting that was another one of the changes. I think, again, the other articles are tweaking the language, and I do think that we did kind of have this question about whether or not you would want to proceed with solar on the basis of having received only one expression of interest. But we left it on there for, I mean, everything's up for discussion, but this is sort of where we ended up.
Shall we take them in order that they are on the
yeah,
page?
The shellfish ordinance
Yeah,
is first, yeah.
yeah. I think we're good with the shellfish, aren't
We
we?
are.
We said last time.
We had
Yeah.
a hearing, we're good with
That
that.
in the,
Yeah,
And will that be recommended by the board?
yes.
Yeah.
it will be.
Okay.
Yep, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Okay. Second article. This is where Mark steps in. With the
Yes,
latest
I will
numbers.
just read the updated version, and then, Mark, I'll turn it over to you. So we're not giving the article a number because the first article will be the election of a moderator. So even though this is going to be a referendum vote, there still will be a moderator that's elected that kind of has some oversight capacity and signs the, I think the final voting tallies, that type of thing. So this is how this article would read. To see if the town will vote to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds or notes in the name of the town of Harpswell in a principal amount not to exceed, and we can talk about what that number would be, which bonds or notes may be made callable, this was a change our attorney advised, to be combined with existing town appropriations and state grant funds to design, permit, construct, and equip an all-tide boat launch and related site improvements at Mitchell Field. And then there's a note added where we would put in the total estimated cost, and then we will indicate how much money the town has in the project, which we have that number. It is $492,250, and the state is providing, has previously awarded us $357,250. So we have those figures, and we're looking at the gap. And I'll let Mark talk further about the construction-related costs and how that gap has been growing over time and what some of the components are.
Okay, I think you all have in front of you an updated cost estimate from
Yeah, I know.
DEI. I would make an observation that's an important one at the start of this discussion. One, this cost estimate is not based on final design and construction engineering. I got an email from Dan Bannon yesterday saying that they are working on it, but because the town delayed in approving the amendment number 2 to their contract, they are still working on that. And also, while the DEP has issued the permit, the Army Corps has not issued their permit. Dan thinks it will be issued soon, but he has been cautious of not finishing all of the engineering design until we know what the Army Corps is going to say and whether there will be any conditions on their approval. So, because of those two issues, this cost estimate includes a contingency that is 20% of the estimated construction cost, and you will see that that shows up in the block that's called construction program budget, and that's an amount of almost $271,000. the total cost with this project, including the engineering that has been done to date, the engineering for the failed attempt to build the town dock, and the engineering for the so-called consolidated project that includes the boat launch and a little bit of work on the causeway that could allow future floats to be provided there. In round figures, the cost is about $2 million. The reserve account and the amount of unspent money from the state ship grants is about $770,000. There's a little bit of a difference in a number that Dan provided because there's a bill in progress of being paid, and but that's there. At this point, there is a gap in the funding, available funding versus this construction cost estimate to complete the work, the construction of the boat launch and related facilities, the payment of the wetlands mitigation in lieu of fee, construction oversight. The full package is, and I know it's in the number, and I don't have Christie's final number, but it's in excess of $1.1 million that would need to be raised through the warrant article. The other consideration that everyone should be aware of is that if the project does not go forward for any reason, the town is committed to repaying the Maine Department of Transportation for the money they have provided for 50% of the cost of the engineering and permitting work, and that's in the range of $35,000.
So I kind of breezed through this, but you said the ship grant and what we have is $770,000 roughly?
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah, that's what's currently available. because
But
we
just to be
have already
clear,
spent-
we're gonna tell the voters how much the town has totally put into made available for the project and how
Sure.
much the state has made available.
Right, so you
project.
break that open, but so you subtract one to the other, you end up with 1
Our gap
228
is
million.
$1,150,500 essentially. If you accept
So-
the
The 2 million,
September 4th estimated construction costs, we did have some internal discussion, the staff did, about whether or not 20% plus there's an escalator, a one-year escalator.
I
so-
saw your question, thanks for asking
Yeah,
that.
and so we did get an answer, and it was kind of like, well, it's such a difficult market right now, we don't really know what to expect, and if you want to play it safe, we would recommend the 270,000, the 20%. But we did discuss whether 10% was something that we thought was reasonable or not, because there is this one-year escalator, which is 101,000. So those two figures alone come up to $370,000, which adds to that gap.
Right.
We weren't necessarily anticipating that size of a gap.
Mr. Chairman, in terms of timeline, if the voters approved a warrant article to borrow the money, the expectation is that the project would, in all likelihood, go to bid this winter, based upon construction during the winter of 25, 26. There are some, I guess you would call it environmental benefits of doing the construction in the cold weather, and it makes it easier to meet the permit conditions on what you have to do. So the timeline would be to bid probably late winter of 25 for construction in the winter of 25, 26 with completion in the summer of 26.
Boy, I think waiting a year for the construction, we better stay with the 20%. The way things have looked over the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, that's what they came up with.
We can always give it back, but it's kind of hard to go back and ask for more.
Well, I think we're back where we were.
We
It
are.
got us to this point many times over, so I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So you would like to go with the recommendation from the engineer, which puts that figure at not to exceed $1,150,500. Total estimated project cost, $2 million. I mean, it came to 1,998,500.
Two is fine.
576.
And,
Yeah.
so we're just gonna say estimated cost of $2 million, and we're gonna put the amount that the town has previously appropriated, which is $492,250, and the amount of state grant funding that we've been awarded to date, $357,250, and that's how you get to the $2 million figure with that bond. The treasurer is recommending that it be paid over a 10-year period, and you have the interest rate at like 3.5 to 3.87, is that correct?
Estimated.
Estimated, yeah.
Total interest on the new amount would be $242,212,
Okay,
because the warrant
Yeah,
that was
for
in your book was based on
for
the
900,
900.
right, right. 150, blah. Okay, so Terry, do you have that bottom line number then?
$1,392,712.
Thank you.
And that will be on the ballot.
Right.
The voter will be able to see that.
Yep. Yikes.
Yeah.
Move.
You moved? Okay, I'll
I
second.
move that
Nobody
we,
wants to do it.
yeah, I'll do it. I move that we approve the warrant as just described by Christie, $2 million project with a bond of $1,150,000, and I didn't get the last numbers.
500.
And 500,
Yeah, not to exceed, yeah.
not to exceed.
Yep. I'll second.
All right, any discussion on this? Yep, now Gary.
Just a point of clarification, so we'd have 1.3 million basically in bond expense, and the 490 that's been incurred, that would be Harpswell's investment.
Yes, correct. I think you were close to 1.4 with the.
Correct.
With the interest, yeah, yeah.
1392.
Any other comments on this? Okay, all in favor?
And is the board recommending this article?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
yes,
I am. Jane is.
yes.
David?
Yes.
I don't think we should print the Mitchell Field Committee recommendation, because I don't think you have this information. I'm not necessarily comfortable with that, because you didn't have the detail that the board has tonight. I don't know if you want to comment on that. Your folks didn't have the benefit of this information about the size of the bond,
Right. What are you going to do?
yeah.
That's my comment. No, I mean, I appreciate how, really getting the detail down. There's nothing we're going to do about the construction costs. I agree, it's, if we're lucky, they stay stable, but if they don't, if we're not lucky, then they're going to keep going up. And so, I say, let's have at it.
All right. Where were we?
they comment? Did they vote?
Yeah, but I don't think.
Coronavirus,
I think it was just
that-
on two.
Yeah, just on this one.
Yeah.
coronavirus, ARPA
You want to
money
go to
yet?
the next article?
We do.
Okay.
Yep.
So this one is to utilize the remaining $54,720 we have as coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds, or otherwise known as ARPA funds, and to appropriate previously approved but unspent ARPA funds. And originally, we had proposed a capital project, and then we did get some feedback about that, and we reached out to emergency services, the 3 departments serving the town, and they felt that they had some needs coming up that they would like this funding to be used for. So we were able to put this in front of the board. Now, there was another suggestion about a communications strategy, but we have talked to our new employee about him taking this project on with some, maybe some minor consulting assistance and, with a kind of a broad spectrum of staff support, meeting with various department heads, meeting with former members of the committee that made this recommendation. And so we're going to try to proceed in-house with developing that strategic plan,
Right.
including maybe a survey at some point. But, so
Great.
Jim Babarski has said that he would be very interested in taking that on as a
Well,
project.
I'm very glad to hear that, because I really would like to see us follow through on all the work that that task force did, which was excellent. And if we can do it, and then if we, potentially, if we need to, we could do a warrant for the March meeting if they're outstanding costs.
Yeah, he might be able to take it to a certain point.
Right.
And we may need some additional assistance. So we are proposing that it be used for emergency services and emergency communications equipment, including there is a very specific need for a thermal imaging camera. So we noted that.
Good.
And the previously unspent funds currently total about $14,600.
We had previously voted to put that into capital fund. We get a,
I don't think you voted on it, we just presented it that way.
was it just a nod? Oh, okay.
Kind
I
of,
think it
yeah.
was
I
just
couldn't remember what we did.
Yeah.
All right,
It could be capitals and odds.
yeah.
Are you all
So
ready?
we're ready to
Yeah.
go with
I'm
that?
good
We're
with it,
recommending
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yep.
Want to make a motion on that?
Yeah, I move we recommend that one.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
All right. Next article.
The next article, it's really kind of a housekeeping article. We have been, like, we were informed through the media that there were 6 preliminary applications approved for working waterfront resiliency grant funding. One of the things that the town had to do when these folks applied, we had to sign a form saying that we agreed to be a fiscal sponsor. And we still don't really have the agreement, it's being worked on, but we wanted to put this out to the voters to make sure that, the board has the authority for the town to accept these funds and then to be responsible for dispersing the funds to the recipient. So I think this will eliminate any question about whether or not the town has the authority to take this kind of sponsorship on.
Great. So I move that we recommend this article.
Second?
No discussion, all in favor?
Yep.
All right.
And then the last one, it came up during the public comment period, and I think it does raise a legitimate question about whether or not, given the lack of interest, if you feel as though you want to proceed with taking this to the voters. I don't know.
Anecdotally, I haven't talked to anybody in favor of it.
Right. Yeah, it was in the Mitchellfield master plan, but it's, in the meantime, nobody that I have spoken to would like to see it in the field down there anywhere, so
But do we want to keep it on the warrant, though?
let the people decide.
Let everybody decide?
It's a meager amount of money that they're offering for that.
Yeah.
They did indicate they would increase, and of course, there's no conversation because you don't even know if your voters want it.
Exactly.
I personally don't see the harm in asking your voters. If they say no, it's done.
Yeah, that's, well.
And
that's
then
what-
you're not gonna expend time negotiating with one respondent without even knowing what your voters want.
Exactly.
And
So-
if they say yes, they're allowing us to negotiate, and we may not find it negotiable.
Yeah. And fine, but,
All right, well,
So I think the question then is, are you recommending this article pass, or are you not recommending this article pass?
I'm recommending a not pass.
Right, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
We'll put
Same.
it before the
So
voters.
you want to
vote.
put it in front of the voters and
recommend it not
pass?
Same.
Okay.
Same.
Not pass,
Yeah.
not pass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I was gonna-
The order,
Oh,
you know, I think the state actually, I don't know, do they put things in a hat and they draw the numbers for the order of the votes? But we don't do that here in Harpswell.
No,
So you
I
get to
think-
decide if you're comfortable with this order, if you want to change the order.
I think we have a little discussion back here.
I didn't say last time that I'm Spike Hybel, I'm chair of the Mitchell Field Committee, so
We'll say it twice this time.
twice. Just to go back to your statement about taking the administration building out of, questions out, can I address that briefly?
I was gonna head back to that anyway, so.
Okay.
Let us finish up what we're doing right.
Okay.
And then we'll head to the
You call
administration
me.
building. Yeah. Anyway, as far as numbering it,
Are you fine with this order as it's presented?
sure.
Okay.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
people will pay attention to the first two, and
Right.
those are
Yeah.
the important ones.
Then it's tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and
Now the question on,
now we can, go ahead, Spike. We'll address the administration building right now.
Okay, Spike Hybel again. My first thing I want to say is the Mitchell Field Committee is feeling a little frustrated the way you're handling this. And the reason is that you've asked us to do any number of things to help shepherd this process along. And now you're taking away the articles, which I think are meaningful, the warrant articles, which have some merit. And I think this is similar to the boat launch in that we finally said, you folks finally said, and we all agree, that it's just time to get going on this. And if we don't decide what to do with the administration building, then the costs are just going to continue to drag out. Having some amorphous organization, it's not even an organization, it's a group of people that say they want to renovate the building, that's all well and good, but who are they? What is their plan? And are they capable of raising, if we wait, another year, by the time things get going and the construction costs go through the roof, are they going to be capable of handling that? I mean, what's the reality of these folks coming forward? We've never heard of them.
No.
So, at any rate, so that's a sort of rhetorical question, I guess, is, who are they, what's their plan, and are they really capable of raising, an extensive amount of money to take care of that building? Yeah, I think that's it. I think that we've been wandering around these questions about the boat launch and the admin building, and now we're talking about solar, and there's not going to be much money involved, and, money, 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 money. But every time we don't act, the cost goes up. We're just in this environment now from the past 5 years where costs are just continuing to go up. And even though they say inflation's coming down, I don't think we're seeing it too much.
I think what we're doing, I'm in favor of, for 10 years, I've been in favor of tearing it down. It's not an attractive building, it's,
I remember going there once with you, and you said, hey, we'll just gut it and fix it.
that was 10 years ago.
Right. So-
It hasn't gotten better. And now it just, it's time to go. I talked to the staff about it a little bit, and then give them till March to raise the money, or, I've actually looked into different grants for spotlight. There's grants out there to tear it down.
So 6 months to raise the money is not enough. Usually the grants come in the fall,
Well, I don't think you can raise that kind of money in 10 years.
but, well.
And I don't
no,
think you're talking-
What I think, yes, what I'm willing to do is go till March to give the opportunity to put something together, not raise the money, but have the direction of raising that money.
So why don't we leave the 2 warrant articles in place then, even though
Well,
it's a little complicated to how you word them and,
Correct. I read your minutes. In fact, I watched it on television, your meeting, and I took quite a lot from that, actually. But I think that having the demolition at the same time, and you, I saw your discussion. It was interesting. Having the demolition question on there at the same time is confusing, and the fact that it's a warrant item, it's written, you wouldn't know till the next day whether 5 passed and whether 6 should go, and so I think to save all the confusion, to give what's happening is there's a separate nonprofit being formed to deal with it, and I've had discussions with some of those who have backed off, and I'm not going to divulge what's in the negotiations, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. So what I would like to do is go until March, give the new nonprofit until March to come up with a plan and that's acceptable to everyone. After that, well, then March isn't too late to come up with a demolition article, so.
I'd like to say something. One, Spike, I too read the minutes. I did not watch your meeting, but I read the minutes. And it's very clear that the strong majority, with the exception of one member of the committee, was in favor of demolishing the building. And I appreciate the fact that you're feeling frustrated that we're muddling through this in the way that we are. So just to say that. I think what we had on the warrant to consider last time was a year for a group to develop a plan. That was way too much. That was not reasonable. And my view now is if we can't do anything because we don't have real estimate of the demolition cost. We have a figure that MCOG gave us, but not certain that $200,000 is correct. That if we take the time between now, leave the opportunity for this group of individuals or organizations to make a plan, not only for remodeling, but for the design, the management of it, what would be happening. At the same time, ask the Mitchell Field Committee to carry on with your process. What is the estimate of a demolition and plan for going forward with that space if the building is removed? And bring one or both to the March meeting. We can authorize a demolition of $200,000, but we don't know if that is meaningful at this point, correct?
okay, well, I just
Yeah.
think this is emblematic of the way this process goes. We should have gotten a firm estimate,
Well,
for the
we got-
demolition.
We don't have firm on either side. We got, what we have, that.
But you have some ranges, and you're willing to work with those ranges. So I guess, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like we've got as much information as we need to figure out how to proceed if we get it before the voters and you can let them figure it out.
But I'm saying we would get it before the voters for a project in March, even if we pass this resolution.
Okay, yeah, I just.
At this time. Is that not correct?
As I've said, I think we're just delaying ourselves into oblivion here. And I guess the
agree.
last thing I would say, is that whoever this nonprofit group is, we need to take into consideration that we're about to, I hope, approve funding for the boat launch. And the boat launch is the big project that we need to get done down there. And the administration building, we've said this in our meetings and in comments, is, it's a hindrance to the waterfront purposes of Mitchell Field. The administration building is secondary to what's happening with the boat launch. And once the boat launch is built, and if this administration building is renovated, and then, okay, so what is the plan from there? How do we rearrange the field to deal with the extra parking and all the things that we've talked about doing? And we're frustrated with the roadblocks to getting things done down there. It's hard for us to be a good committee if our recommendations kind of get put off to the side. Thank you.
One of the things I picked up when I listened to the Mitchell Field Committee talk about having the 2 articles, I think initially the committee thought that they were going to be discussed on the floor. So I began to think that it made sense if we are going to have 2 votes on a warrant, it's great if you have them discussed on the floor, because sometimes we pass over an article depending upon the action that's taken. So when you're doing this referendum, you know, it's done in a vacuum, but if they're discussed on the floor of town meeting, that might make more sense, and it would allow time for more information to be gathered, so it could be dealt with that way.
We are going to have at least one public hearing, and I think it'll be well attended, and you'll get a lot of feedback from that. Correct? We're going to have a hearing?
We won't have on the administration building now. It won't,
Right.
because it's not going to be on here, but.
So there you have it.
I will say that our public hearings are not as well attended as the floor of town meeting, so, you know, I listened to your committee, and initially, they thought it was going to be a floor discussion.
That's correct.
And so I think we could have 2 articles when that's the case, but it gets a lot more confusing when it's a referendum type of situation.
All right, so you have to wait till March.
Well, if they're
Do
going
it
to
over.
give this opportunity to an entity, and it was going to be 6 months or a year, let's deal with this in March. I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing the select board saying. This entity needs to get something pulled together if the voters are going to consider it, if the board is going to take it to the.
Yeah, and so what will be the criteria for that? I mean, there's so much involved in this concept. You know, even if an organization says, "Oh, we think we can do it," I guess I may be conflating here a little bit, but speaking to your point, Dave, that there's a nonprofit out there, you know, there needs to be some criteria about what they're going to do. And that also applies somewhat to a nonprofit, any nonprofit that's going to come in that we give time to figure out what they want to do. I think the select board has the right to put criteria in front of them that says you've got to meet this.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just handing it over.
I think a timeline is critical too, because it gets to your point of this just keeps going on,
Oh,
you know? I mean, we need something more concrete, and I think the board needs to establish a timeline.
Initially, I wanted a year, but I'm willing to go with March. That's a
Yeah.
concession that I'll
But that
make.
means it has to be ready in like January, because
Right.
March.
Right. Oh,
It's
yeah.
an early town
Yeah.
meeting in March,
Yeah.
so.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, we should know pretty
I'm
soon.
skeptical. I just assumed the March meeting, that there'd be an opportunity to let people vote, but down it comes.
Well, your vote tonight, though, on what to do will then require that the skepticism aside, I have to figure out what's going to be the action plan for that outfit in order to get
Absolutely.
ready for January, and, you know,
Yeah.
do they have to meet a minimum number for you to feel comfortable going forward with it? All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you alone.
Well,
Well, hang on a minute. I think by then we'll have a pretty good feel whether or not this organization can even come close to what they're doing. Is there a number attached to it? No, but I think we'll know by then if they've only raised $100,000 or something, you know, instead of 3 million, or whatever the number is, 2.5 million.
I don't think you can expect anyone to raise much money in between now and March. I mean, as I said, the grants are issued in the fall. It takes time to write a grant. But if the group can put together a plan that's acceptable, I think that's what we should aim for.
I would just like to say one thing. To your point, Spike, I think it's very well taken. I think the board needs to be clear on what the parameters are, what the criteria is for acceptability, and that we get that together very quickly and make that available to whoever it is that's interested in this. I think there's some people here that maybe want to speak to that interest as well.
Okay, thank you.
Gary Vincent again. So now we're waiting for a nonprofit to be formed, a group of nonprofits. And were you leading that effort, David, or were you speaking as a select person or as a leader of the the new nonprofit?
Well, as a selectman, I can't really be too involved in it, but I certainly would be involved in it. I have been speaking with the nonprofits who originally wanted to be part of it and backed off. And I have a pretty good feeling about it, but I think reinstituting the Friends of Mitchell Field or something like that that would have the mission statement that allows something like this. Part of the problem was the original nonprofits don't have it in their mission to do something like this. So that was the setback.
Am I correct that to date, none of the nonprofits have stepped up saying that they're interested in doing it?
Well, no, they initially were, and because it's
And they
not
saw
in
the cost.
not in their mission, they said they're not interested, but I've had discussions with them, and I think what I can say is they said the door is closed, but it's not locked. So,
Yeah, I just have a hard time strategically thinking about an old building in the wrong place of town that we're trying to form nonprofits around to save when we're trying to service the nonprofit that's servicing the entire town. So we're spending time and money thinking about a central EMS station. Well, let's think about a central nonprofit location. It just seems like we're trying to force, very similar to what we did with the water tower. We'll take 6 years, we'll have nonprofit upon nonprofit, we'll get into, if we don't like the vote, some other action will be taken. And it's pretty a simple decision that says there's no one here now. Why aren't we tearing it down when it's a recommendation of the Mitchell Field Committee? It just seems that we're attempting to do something for one agenda rather than what's good for the town.
well, we need the voters to weigh in on it.
Then let's vote on it.
Well,
Put one article up to tear it down, just like we did for the water tower.
Bob Goodrow. I'm not a political person. I have met at the administration building. I'm not representing anybody here tonight. I'm representing myself. I've been consulted on the administration building probably for the last 7 years on what fees or costs could be on the renovations or the maintenance. And that's been just because I'm a contractor in my old life. I understand historic buildings or old buildings. I've worked on much worse buildings than this, and some have had to come down. This building is adequate. It has bones that are salvageable. I may differ from some of the other people that are putting forth $3 million of cost. I think I know my costs better than MCOG, and I think I understand what it would take to build or rebuild and renovate that building. I am not a believer in keeping the whole building of the 7,700. I think I would prefer to see the garage and what I call the kitchen sleeping quarter section, which is really the left-hand side, looking with your back from the water, looking at it. I look at the garage as being an open span, easily put on full view garage doors, something you could open up, use by our community. Is it a stretch that it's only 1/3 our community? I don't look at our community being so divided that we have to be of that mindset. So maybe I'm naive, and I can grant you that. I think a community building's a community building, and once lost, it's never going to be built at the same value that we could possibly. I believe the renovations of the garage, I believe the renovations of a kitchen and meeting space and office space in the remaining kitchen, sleeping quarter areas would be approximately $1 million. I say that because I've been around this for a long time, 40 years. I've done these jobs. I would say that I would prefer to see the remaining administration building taken down, and I know this is a compromise or a hybrid, but I think when you look at having meeting space on this peninsula, I think you look at possibly the garden club being able to have meeting space, the band possibly being able to use the open space of the garage to have a concert that that venue was scheduled for but gets rained out, but still be able to have it. I've come up with a plan to put a little addition on the front of the building that would allow an accent to be able to look out from the garage towards the water or down the dock and still not encroach on the dock facility or the driveway. And I said, all that build out, I think, the garden club could help HA have a possible kitchen there. They would work together. They could have a fall festival to raise money for their organizations. HA could have a permanent location to work with our community. The town boats could still be stored there during the winter, since we wouldn't probably put heat or air conditioning into the garage center. I mean, there are accomplishments that could be had. I think if you able to raise the money and put solar on this would be, on a pro forma basis, it would basically be a zero cost to the nonprofits and no cost to anybody else. The wild card that I have is the water and the septic. And I think the town has some responsibility to provide both the commercial entity, the oyster facility, and this building, that entity. And then there's the review and some costs that probably have to go into some parking. But I believe there's an opportunity. I think there's hardships on both people that have put up walls or force fields not to listen and not to be able to review this. 1 year, I don't think 6 months to get all this done, and I'm willing to come back to you in 3 months with where or what I've been able to accomplish if I need to, and if it's failing, then I'll close my books and walk away. But I would rather we take 3 months out of the 70-year-old building, the 20-plus years the Harpswell Committee's been out there, and do something to at least address this with some fulfillment instead of just saying, throw it away. Once it's gone, you'll never replace it at anywhere near the cost. I think MCOG did a disservice with some of their estimates, and I don't think the demolition, I think you might have enough when you say the demolition of just the administration building at $200,000 is adequate. There's no definition as to whether that's to grade or if that's to 1 foot below grade so that you have a grass surface. So your numbers are not fulfilling, and I think it's a disservice to this community, what we've been presented. That said, they're good people. I work with them all the time. Thank you for your time.
So I'm Lily Ott, and although I'm co-chair of Harpswell Aging at Home, I'm not representing them because we are, as a group of Harpswell Aging at Home, not willing to sponsor this project. However, what we noticed in the discussions with the boards of not just our group, but other groups, that there are a number of individuals that came forward excited by the possibilities. And I certainly hear, Skip, I hear your frustration, and Jane must have it too. Jane, how long have you been involved with Mitchell Field? Years and years and years. So I know that's hard but I think what's going to happen is new people keep coming into this town who have had experience like Bob has had with rehabbing buildings for a whole variety of purposes. So I think I would just like, if we could go to March, I mean, we can make it in January, and just see what we can do in the next few months. I would be totally happy with that, and I think the 5 or 6 other people that are really anxious to see this happen would feel the same, so. And I hear you about criteria that are clear. I mean, we've all done a bunch of business plans, we get that, so we can write them out and work with you. Thanks.
All right.
There are certainly a lot of visions around the building in Mitchell Field.
I think right now, if you put it up to a town vote to demolish it, they would vote to demolish it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing about the admin building,
Oh.
which
Your name, please.
Elaine Bauer, I'm on the Harpswell Neck Library Board. And it's not how pretty the building looks from the outside. Let's take that off really seriously. It's what can happen inside the building. And we need a house for our library. We have books, we have computers, we have shelves, we have everything except a home. I hear all the time that not-for-profits are having trouble finding meeting space.
we could use meeting space and not have to, not just the garden club, which doesn't even have a place that's heated. You know, something can happen there. And if it doesn't look pretty from the outside, we can make it prettier. But it really is what happens inside the building. And I think we should really be seriously thinking about that. That's all I want to say.
All right.
Don Miskill. Not talking as a Mitchell Field steward, just myself. We're talking about spending a lot of money on a building when there's a building right down the road that has a sign on the front that says space available for lease. And that's the West Harpswell Elementary School. So the question I see is, do we really want to put all of this money into that building when we could go down the street and that building's there, it's ready to go, it's got the space to do things? I mean, you know, the nonprofits, they're all good people, they're all working hard. But I just see this, it's almost like we're churning butter here over this particular building.
We are.
And we're talking about spending a lot of money to just get a building, not to help the nonprofits do their job or anything else, just to get the building done.
Yep. No town money.
Yep.
Yeah, we'd be spending town money to tear it down.
Anyway, we chewed this up enough? Ready to move on? Anyway, progress report in the Governor's Office of Policy and Community Action Plan. Go Biff.
Go Biff.
This is hard to follow.
Well, we're backing up,
Oh, Mary Ann, you can do it.
backing up to 7.
The selectmen have received a packet from the Resiliency and Sustainability Committee. I'm Mary Ann Naif. Tonight, I have Nancy West and Jay McCrate here with me from the committee. And as I explained in the packet, we are in the second year of our 2-year strategic plan and wanted to report to the selectmen just what has occurred and what we need to do to go forward. So basically, in 2022, Harpswell developed a sustainability plan, and it was based on, of course, the state's action plan. Maine won't wait. We submitted a 2-year action plan, which the select board went through and addressed the resolutions in that. And it was what we would do for 2 years into the future. We need to be a part of the, we have to have the 2-year action plan in place to take advantage of funds that are offered by the Governor's Office of Innovation Policy in the future. So I thought it would be a good idea to just go over really briefly what, as a member in a partnership, the town has realized over this 2-year period. We were able to, with this funding, assess and prepare the conceptual engineering plans to mitigate for 3 feet of sea level rise at the Garrison Cove Town Landing. We completed, the town completed a level 2 energy audit on this building and identified improvements to this building. They also updated the town office building lighting inside, where we have all LED now. And we actually were able to, we had 4 town roads that were, are flooding now when there is storm surge. And we were able to get grants to do engineering studies on all 4. They are Abner Point Road, Bethel Point Road at Hen Cove, Lowell's Cove Road, and Dingley Island Bridge. during this period, this was all funded with state grant money. We also, during this period, were able to go to the townspeople at 2 years of town meetings, and we established a $100,000 sustainability plan implementation reserve account, which is known as SPIRA. And what this enables the town to do is to have matching money when we apply for many of these grants, which come at various times of the year. And the selectmen, I believe, can approve up to $50,000, and anything over that, we would go to town meeting for. So that being said, we have to submit a new 2-year plan. And what the committee did was it went through, there are various strategies that the Maine Weight has put up for us to work with. They're in front of you here. I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into tonight. I would just like to mention that on this document, we're showing what we have done so far, what we have completed as part of our 2-year plan. And then going forward in the strategy areas from A to H, we have our new plans for the coming year. And I do want to just bring up a couple areas that we're spending a little more time on this, and that is the one that is having to do with building healthy and resilient communities. Jay McCrate has been spearheading that on our committee, and we're increasing basically the definition of vulnerability in our community. We want to include social equity as well as equality. And this is something that we want to spend more time on. This will help us, I think, be able to address many of these areas having to do just with our working community, not just seniors and the fishing community. Not that we can fund anything directly, but it allows the town to support many of the items that might be coming up. Nancy West works on our engaging Maine people and getting our information out. So we're trying to work on an energy resource information program. We've started this, and we're hoping in the coming 2 years to further have that education program so that residents can find out easily where they can take advantage of grants from the state and where they can save money on heating and so forth. We're currently discussing something called a news feed, a sustainability news feed, and 3 or 4 members have offered to start working on that. So those are just a few of the things that we have planned. We're hoping that the select board will approve this, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Mary Ann. I wanted to ask if you wanted to speak a little bit to strategy area G and the investment questions.
Certainly.
I've been asking this for a while.
She's been asking this for a while. Let me look at this. Basically, we're going to continue to provide annual funding for SPIRA. We want to develop a program for funding major infrastructure projects and continue to seek grants for our engineering studies and even stretch it to implementation of some of these when there are grants, which came up earlier this year. We didn't get the grant, but we would have been able to take care of 2 town landings, the construction costs by the state. Looking into the future, we realize, and this is starting to come up more and more, that the town's going to have hard decisions as time goes forward. you're going to have a lot of issues. Just that happened, I think, in the spring. And we want to develop a mitigation investment policy, which we're hoping the information that we're doing with studies, and the studies also give the cost to do many of these things, will be helpful, and we can push through to the select board. And those will be helpful as you try to make decisions on this. Jane, did I cover it?
I think I'll just say one or two words, that given that I'm liaison to the R&S committee as well as the Budget Advisory Committee, it's the question of how do we incorporate what we know at some point in the future, say the next 10 years, the town will need to make decisions about making investments, whether it's raising bridges or changing road patterns or other things that are going to be added to what we already have as ongoing replacement and development and so on, and that would appreciate if the R&S committee could provide some criteria for decision-making around that as we go forward. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And currently, which we've talked about in a little more detail, for example, on the roads that we're looking at, criteria was established in order to prioritize which ones we would do first. We're thinking this will be a criteria that we're going to start working on, and we have talked to town lands for how them to be looking at. Basically, we're talking about infrastructure that is owned by the town. We're not really, other than just giving helpful information, we are not able to do any funding of anything that's private, unfortunately. Jay or Nancy, did you want to add anything?
Good.
That's it?
That's it.
Great
Now,
work.
if you're ready, and you have had a chance to look at these and think these are good actions, we will proceed to pull the project together, and it will have to be voted on by you and signed by Christie. We will have it ready to go by the deadline, which is in a week and a half.
Oh,
I will say I'm impressed with it.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So are you asking us to make an approval now that will allow
Or-
you simply to
Yeah.
tidy up
yeah.
and propose
Yeah.
the
We don't-
plan? Yeah.
We don't need a vote. You just need
Just a nod.
nod from the three of
Be
us.
careful of those nods now.
What are you saying, Terry?
I think you need a vote.
We need a
Yeah,
vote.
right.
We need a vote.
Yeah, because,
Oh, you can have-
Update.
the state is looking for the
Right.
town commitment, so I think it needs to be a
gotcha.
So
vote.
let me try to
Go for
phrase
it.
a proposal that
Can't wait.
muddle. I move that the select board accept the plan presented to us tonight for the update of the GoPIF
Community-
plan. Put in the correct language.
Community action plan.
Community action plan as,
Update.
that we approve the update to that plan and authorize Christie to sign the final document.
Sounds like a good one. I'll second that.
Any conversation to do with that? No? In that case, all in favor? There.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Thank you
work.
all.
I saw that email came in at like midnight last night.
No, it wasn't that late. Was it?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it till this morning.
well, I do.
Thank you for all
My-
the hard work.
My town emails, the phone makes a very loud noise. I don't know how to.
Does it really?
I don't know how to shut the damn
Why did you
notifications off.
It's great work,
What do we
Marion.
have?
Great job,
Thank you, guys.
everyone.
Another hot button item, Macro Cove rentals.
Yeah, what's up with
All right.
that?
Well, this came
Eight.
about, I was at a
Yeah.
wedding down there, and this couple rented the land trust property and also the town property, for parking.
Oh,
Well, our town property was already full of cars, and a boat and a large trailer, you couldn't fit anything in there. So there's really no way to rent that piece of property and guarantee people are gonna be able to use it, because,
We've never guaranteed it, by the way.
I know, so
Okay.
why do we even rent it? You know, it's, you know, like playing roulette. I said, well, maybe there's room for what you need it for, maybe there isn't, but, you know, I
So-
don't see reasons.
So really, the only reason we rent it mostly is for parking.
Yeah, and,
We've had a few smaller weddings
was gonna
on our
ask, yeah,
property.
yeah.
yeah,
Not, I don't know this year if we've had many.
Not many, but there's been a lot on ours.
Yeah, but-
And they commingle because alcohol's not allowed on the town property. But the town property is right there at the beach, and so many people get married on the beach in front of the town property. But Chairman Johnson knows my one statement to the benefit of actually having people go through a rental is that you get insurance from them. They're
But-
made familiar with the rules. Without signing and agreeing to something, are you opening it up to people doing their own weddings with alcohol and?
they are anyway. People are using picnic tables, they're drinking beer, people are getting married there without asking us to use it. It's being used anyway. And, you know, and because of the beach there, it's full all the time, so if you get a Saturday wedding, you're at a block. And like, the way the truck was parked that day with the boat trailer, there was 8 parking spaces that you couldn't use, you know, along
We
the
did
sides.
agree to refund these people
Right.
because they knew they couldn't have exclusive parking, but they said they couldn't, there was not even any opportunity to
There was one
park
parking space.
because of the way things were configured that day. I think there was maybe a larger trailer and truck or something was
Yeah,
taking
big
up
truck and a boat trailer.
a pretty substantial part of the
And
parking
that
lot,
was,
so.
that was still there at 11 o'clock at night.
Was that someone who's launched their boat and they're out
Yeah.
on it somewhere and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Which
fine.
is a justified use of that parking lot, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of what it's for, but,
Yeah,
But interesting, it's not, overnight parking's not allowed.
correct.
right.
we don't have parking police.
So, well, we do, because we have an ordinance
Yeah.
for that, and so, or, yeah. And so there's a macro co-parking ordinance, so a deputy could have been called. I know it doesn't resolve the issue you were bringing up, but I
Right.
just registered that if they were there all night, that is against and,
Yeah.
you know, the ordinance.
I got an earful from this couple. No.
And so the other vehicles that were parked there were just
Beach
people on the
goers.
beach or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, they're picnicking, you know, they're,
It seemed, I was just trying to compare this situation with Mitchell Field. When there's an event there, we often, like when the high school wants to have their party, we basically close it for a period of time.
we do.
And so there's not the conflict between the public use and the private use that people have rented it
Yeah.
for.
You've only done it for that one event.
Right.
Because that's a project graduation and they can't have the public mixing with the children. But we never close it for any other event. Every applicant is told that while people are, first of all, there's a lot more parking available at Mitchell Field. Let's
true,
put
yeah.
that out there first. But second of all, if somebody rents the bandstand or the shorefront and they mark that on their map, we are very clear with them to say, while people are respectful, just be aware, you could have some people walk up to the seats you have laid out for your own wedding and could join your wedding. Doesn't often happen, but every applicant is well aware that they're unable to prohibit the public's right to use the property.
Right.
Right, but in this case, with the use being the parking primarily,
Yeah,
we can't say to people, you can't park there. Or we
Correct.
could- I mean, if we did, we could, but
We-
I
yeah.
don't think we should.
Yeah.
but in the
Right.
meantime, we're
Yeah.
still renting it, and so
Exactly,
it's,
yeah.
you know,
I will say this has been the first time that there's been an issue, but we do make it very clear. I mean, it's up to the board's decision. We just want to make sure that you are aware of the reasons why the rental started. It was advice that if you're going to have some, it's true, not everybody comes forward.
no,
But if you start getting a call, I'd like to get married at Mackerel Cove, which is how it always starts. And then we ask and we're like,
Which
you really
property?"
should have a policy and
Well-
this and that. And so,
for the same money, you get the you know.
I think
a
more
much
and more
better
people,
property.
we could maybe look at the data. I don't know how important that is to you,
Well,
but
there probably is no data.
I think more and more people are going to the land trust property because they get exclusive use of that, and they're not going to get exclusive use of public
No,
property.
because
And where do they park when they go to the land trust?
Grass,
Well, they
and
have,
I don't know.
they have some park, I mean, it's grass
Yeah.
parking, but they have
Yeah,
more
yeah.
parking now than they used to.
for the
and-
wedding, we use neighbors.
Yeah.
Started knocking on doors.
Most of the events that have been held at Mackerel Cove have been the wedding to be on the shore by the town, but their reception is at Bailey Island Library Hall, so all their parking is at
Yes.
Bailey Island Library Hall, and they're walking down for the picturesque wedding at Mackerel Cove, and then they walk back up for the reception. That's the majority of our
But
rentals.
There's been a lot of wedding tents down in Market Grove this year.
Oh, they have?
Yeah, the one I was in was a huge wedding tent.
Hmm.
So, anyway, it just seems ridiculous that we rent it and you can't guarantee that they can use it. Didn't make any sense to me. And- And there's no way to shut it off for parking because people would have no place to park. You know, the beaches,
Right, the parking lot is there for the town's people's use of
Yeah.
of
We
the beach.
also have a fence so that people can't park on the grass because we have,
Right.
there's a conservation easement on this
Right.
property. And
Yes.
it's supposed to be so people can see the view and it's, you
Oh, yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's not a huge parking lot that we
Yeah.
don't create this massive parking lot down there. So there is limited parking, there's limited space, you have to share it with the public. I think we're getting fewer and fewer requests, but I could be wrong.
Without looking, I can't.
that's because it's a crappy deal.
Because I think they tend to go to the land trust property now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, for the reason that it's the parking lot and that space is there for people's free use, the people of town, I see no reason to rent it and boot people out of there when it's, you know,
The only thing I will say is if somebody wanted to rent the town's property, we have allowed them to put a small tent up, I think, right? That, like, they can put a small tent.
They've had a
There's
big
no
tent.
alcohol or big
There's
tent,
lots of
whatever.
grass.
But if you say we're not renting anymore, then people don't have a right to do that, correct? Or you think it's gonna be whatever you wanna do? That- that-
it is now. You're not down there.
People are putting tents on?
Oh, yeah,
the towns?
you see sun tents there all the time.
Oh, like
You
a
have the
little.
Yeah, but
tent.
not a
I
party
meant
tent.
more of a.
There's no room for that down there.
There is on a
Right.
grass area.
Not really. It's scrubby in between Heritage property and our property.
Oh, if you're just talking a little sun tent, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking a.
Oh, no, and
big
picnic
tent.
tables.
Circus
and-
tent.
Yeah,
Well, no, like a wedding tent
Right.
or a
I've been to an
rehearsal.
event with a wedding
Or-
tent.
and there's plenty of drinking going on there.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So the downside of not having it available for rent for private purposes is what?
That it's gonna be whatever people wanna
Yeah,
do.
that's what they're doing anyway.
It was established because that's the recommendation that we get from the town attorney and from our insurance company. So when people have been calling us and saying, many, many years ago, way before even probably Mitchell Field, the Mackerel Cove policy was established first.
Okay.
And so we would get calls, and then when they're asking us, we have to do our due diligence, and we're told you should go through a lease agreement, and they should provide insurance. So if the board decides not to have a formal policy anymore, we will tell people that, you need to be respectful, you don't need to get permission directly from the town, I guess is what we will be
So-
saying.
I don't know if you want any input from the town lands committee or
No.
not, no?
The,
Okay.
the parking lot's full all the time. You know, you get on there Saturday, Sunday, it's full. So,
I
So-
wonder if people are gonna have large events and we'll have no control over them.
there's not enough room for large events.
Well, I mean,
No.
Spillover from the land trust.
anyway, maybe.
Don't overcomplicate it.
You will
So,
get to
here, I
decide.
have something that may be overcomplicating it. If we make it the policy that individuals could rent it for wedding or family gathering or something, using the picnic tables in the grass, no guaranteed parking, or maybe no parking, period, but it's not rentable for parking for events that are happening on the Johnson Field. So it's a more limited use, but the ones who want to have an event there, a small event.
That's what we do now. This applicant was well aware that the town.
Yeah, but we don't, we just say, no, we won't rent you.
Oh, I
Don't
see.
use it, do not use that parking area, find alternative parking. This is public parking. If they want it for parking.
Yeah.
No parking rental, yes, rental if you're gonna have a tent, a small tent or a picnic.
There's no
family
other
bus-
parking down there.
Yeah.
I think the
That's
parking
basically
is,
it.
So it's for the use of the people of Harpswell, residents of Harpswell. So a couple from Lewiston want to get married, and
Oh, it's all out-of-state plates. It's everybody down there.
we
Yeah.
don't,
We
allow
don't
anyone.
distinguish.
We don't
Yeah.
distinguish.
right, but I'm saying the people of Harpswell get to use that.
The whole public does.
Anyone who comes.
Not just
Anybody who
Harpswell.
The
comes.
general public.
The general public, all
It's not-
towns.
It's,
Yeah.
it's a park, open to everyone. Oh,
I mean, you can certainly, if you're in favor of abolishing it, it could be, you could always revisit it if it becomes an issue. You know, we look to the board's decision and how you would portray that to the public.
that was my suggestion, that we do it as a trial.
Turn it into a motion.
I move that we do it as a trial. We stop renting. And we can address it later on if we need to.
For how long? Through next summer?
Yeah, yeah, a year.
A year,
A year?
sure. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
See what happens.
Yep. All right. Proclamation of Constitution Week.
Yes.
Seems like we just did this.
Well, did it a year ago, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to read this, and it's fairly short. Proclamation of Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. And by virtue of blah, 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 I move that we name September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week here.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
That was the quickest one we did tonight.
No. Nope. Accept deed of gift from Mr. Etnier.
Yes, so we have a new painting for the board to consider. It was painted by Robert Solitaire, who lived in Harpswell. He was the uncle of David Etnier, and David Etnier owns this painting, and he would like to donate it to the town of Harpswell. The value is less than $3,000, which allows the select board to consider accepting the gift. There are no restrictions related to the gift, and it's before you tonight for your consideration. I don't know if we can show it on our, our
Oh.
screen, but anyway.
Hold it up, hold it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe.
I've got-
Oh,
I
it's
don't
on
have a
speaker.
color,
Got a
but-
color version of
Talk,
it.
yeah.
Anyway, I knew Bob,
Yeah,
I knew
sorry.
Bob quite well, and I really have always enjoyed his paintings. I move that we accept this.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, David.
We'll send him a thank you letter that all
Right.
the board members will sign.
Yep.
Oh, we'll get the painting too and decide where to hang it.
Oh, yeah. Engineering work scope regarding the recycling center Phase 2 project.
This document is quite extensive. We received the final version on September 3rd. It's coming from our town engineering firm, Goral Palmer. It's for the engineering services that relate to the recycling center Phase 2 project, which is primarily the building. The proposed cost for engineering fees is $106,000. So I think you can see with many of our larger projects, when we need engineering help, it's getting costly. The total project is estimated in the document you have, which I believe we posted online. So it's estimated to cost between $645,000 to $802,000. And then there are options that are anticipated to cost between $350,000 and $500,000. We certainly don't have the money to do all the options at this point.
We have $800,000, so we're hoping that the bids come in on the low side,
Yeah.
on the lower side of the range.
You know, I said last time we looked at this, and I'm going to say it again, I understand the airline engineering people are pretty good people, but the break room is not on the northeast corner, and the office is not on the southwest corner. It's the other way around. It's not a big deal, but it just kind of makes me wonder how well they looked at what their compass was using when they did this, but.
I think we can get by that.
I just hope they don't start digging up the parking lot looking for the water line, because it's on the other end of the building.
So you're looking for us to.
So we're looking
approve
for
this.
the board to approve the consulting services contract with Goral Palmer for the engineering related to the Recycling Center Phase 2 project.
In the amount of $106,000.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Great,
Excellent.
thank you.
Save that. We did that. Treasurer's report.
Do you have number 12?
Oh, yeah.
Mitchell Field.
Good one, Terry.
Request for use of town properties. I should have had that closer to Mackerel Cove.
Well, I didn't set the agenda.
So you
Anyway.
You have an application for use of Mitchell Field. It's a nonprofit, not Harpswell-based. They paid those fees for not Harpswell-based. And do you have any questions about the application? They've submitted their insurance.
A lobster bake, huh?
Nope.
No,
Sounds like they're taking pictures.
yeah, it's okay.
I move we approve that one.
Second.
All in favor? No.
And then, so this is interesting too, so not regularly, but we do receive these requests to use. You had a policy for Mackerel Cove and you have a policy and use form for Mitchell Field. And then many years ago, this generic one was made up because we would get, you're right, the general public is just going to Giant Stairs or Lookout Point, but when you get a request from a business who's going to film a commercial, who's going to, and we've had it all at Mackerel Cove, at Giant Stairs. And so this one is to do a still photography shoot, and it's at Lookout Point. And
It says
been a
see
while.
attached, but
It's on the back of it. I photocopy things to save
because
paper.
it didn't say where, and that was why I was confused about. So it's Lookout
It
Point.
says, the primary interest is putting a car in the normal car parks, not down on the ramp, and then they will want to use the ramp perhaps for the shoot.
So, so I didn't know which ramp of the many that we have in town.
Oh, the location on the front says
Lookout Point.
Lookout Point.
Where
Does it not say Lookout Point?
Where does it say
It's
that?
Lookout Point.
What it says is still photography shoot, 2 cars parked in the scene with 2
It
models
doesn't
on
say
it.
Lookout
It
Point.
does on the agenda.
Where?
Lookout Point
Oh, it does on
Landing.
the agenda, that's
Yeah.
it, though. Yeah, but that's a good point, that should kind of specify that.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm all right with that one, too. I'll move this.
Oh, I think,
approve
did
that.
you include the charge for $300?
The last we could find is it's about $300.
Yeah, we
And
looked
how-
at,
Oh,
Is there a time period?
They're good with that?
They
I
have?
think, is it 3 hours?
It's 3-hour period on September 11 or 12, from about 4:30 to 8. And that's on your backside. I'm sorry if
Okay,
that's,
that's a,
if that's
let me
too,
look.
Yeah.
too,
Yes, I see
too
it
much
now.
conserving.
No, that's fine. No. Okay.
And they're okay with the $300?
They're going to pay it.
Oh, they're fine with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
300 for a photo shoot?
Yeah, I move we apply, we approve that.
Second?
All in favor?
Right.
Nay. Now.
Now, dazzle us.
Yeah.
Terry Gaudette, the town's treasurer, here to report on the town's finances as of August 31st, 2024. The town's cash balances was just shy of $4.2 million, and that's obviously primarily due to the fact that the board on August 1st set the mill rate at $6.36 per thousand of value, and the tax commitment of $15,719,000 was recorded on August 8th. The assessing office did a great job wrapping up their field work and was able to do that commitment early. We worked with our accounting software, whose the last 2 years, the tax bills have been out quite late, but we were able to work out that they were mailed and taxpayers began receiving their bills on August 16th. And just in those last 2 weeks of August, $3.2 million in taxes had been collected on our online services and obviously in the tax office, and they've done a great job managing all those receipts and deposits. Due to the tax payments coming in, I have made a payment, a $1.8 million payment on our short-term borrowing. So $2,150,000 was outstanding as of August 31st. I will be making another payment on Monday. And do believe that the interest will be manageable, which did not think that. But obviously, it helps to have those tax bills go out earlier. So we have anxious taxpayers, and we appreciate that. It helps keeps our costs down. As far as the remaining taxes, 2023 taxes outstanding was just over $23,000. Other years is just shy of $17,000, which includes the 2022 tax unpaid taxes that will automatically foreclose in December. There's 14 properties with outstanding liens, plus 2 for trailers, but the select board knows that we don't foreclose on just trailers owned, not with the property. But they're unable to remove them from the town without paying taxes, so, unless they're destroyed. And revenue, on the revenue and expense item side, our non-property tax revenue available to reduce the taxes is $2.3 million, just shy of 80%. End of August would be about 67%, so we are ahead of the forecast at this point. The town has collected 78% of its excise tax, which is, other than property taxes, our largest source of revenue. Some of the other significant revenues have exceeded the forecast, or at least the 8 months' worth of the forecast, such as revenue sharing, moorings and other fees, permits, recycling center, transfer station revenues. In August, the town did receive 75% of its estimated homestead, which was based on the 2023 mill rate, but the state will catch up on the last quarter payment that will come in next August for the balance due on that. Interestingly enough, the town did, as it always does in August, receives its first installment of the cable franchise fee, but it was less than forecasted and less than what we received in 2023, which clearly must be a result of people changing to Fidium. That's all I can imagine.
Probably.
Or some,
Yeah.
or maybe they still kept it for, yeah, that's right, yeah. Fidium is really for the internet, but when they change to Fidium, they often will go to streaming services and leave Comcast, and
Give
so
up television.
it's got to be some sort of direct connection, I would assume. Spending through August 2024 is generally following historical experience. There are a few budgets appearing to be underspent due to timing of invoices, such as the planning. Our contracted planner needs to get caught up in some invoices there. Recycling and transfer station, the disposal invoices are always quite a bit late.
Other budgets appear to be over expended again due to timing of invoices. We pay our contracted services like the marine and law enforcement at the end of the prior month, since it's due on the first of each month. ARPA expenditures, includes the heating assistance and planning services relating to the comp plan update and capital expenditures, as you discussed this evening, recycling center, the boat launch, the upcoming Peabody Road project, and some of the projects due to the January storm, Little Island Road, and our emergency communications equipment project, which has been determined to have certainly improved communications on the islands and on the neck, but there is some more work to be done in the Cundies Harbor area. But that does conclude my report.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Department Transportation Agreement, surfacing replacement of Ewan Narrows Bridge.
Yeah, recently we were notified that they're going to do a surfacing project on the bridge. So, they're painting it right now, and then they're gonna do a resurfacing project. I don't know that, I couldn't find a date for that, but part of their process is to get permission from the town that if they have any vehicles that might be over the weight limit of our town ways, that we sign off. They asked us to do this for the Cribstone Bridge project. They never used a town way. It never really came into effect. I don't think it really will here, but it's just kind of a process piece
Yeah.
that they want
Just
to
in
follow.
case.
Yeah, they have to have it in their file.
Yeah. They have nothing that weighs as much as the equipment on that bridge right now.
Yeah, true.
Well, it's a good test for that bridge, so let it wait on it.
Yeah. Great. So as long as you're willing to approve this and sign it, we're all set.
I move that we approve it.
Second.
All in favor? All right, public comment, there isn't any. Other business?
Other business, I have 2 items for you. I did place in your books and indicated in the email that they were under that agenda item, number 17, 2 draft letters that I wanted the select board to review regarding our working waterfront
Oh.
public outreach. And so I did draft one to realtors
There they are.
and one for the realtors to provide to prospective owners, prospective buyers, and also our assessing office will send out the letter to those that actually purchased the property. And it's really to get the, we were able to order, squeak out of this year's budget, 1,000 more of the scuttlebutts, so we do have those. And we do have our working waterfront section on the website, and we're trying to direct people to that, and recruit the realtors, since they are the front line with first time, with people moving into town. Since it's going to say signed by the Harpswell Select Board, wanted to have the Select Board review these letters and okay them.
Well, it puts a little meat to that sign that when you're coming into town, that it's a working waterfront. And I've had people say to me, what are you talking about? It's not a working waterfront. It definitely is. These letters certainly add some meat to that. I move that we approve them.
I just have one thought as I'm looking at it. In your second paragraph, I think on both of them, the fishing and harvesting community, maybe we want to insert shellfish. People are coming from inland, they may not be familiar with that.
Shellfish harvesting?
Yeah,
I think that's what you meant by harvesting.
it is too. I didn't know that. I wouldn't have known that before I
But
moved
it's also
here.
seaweed. I mean, there are a number of things that you harvest.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it. I just, they say, oh, we've got a farm or two here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That too. But that doesn't have to do with
Oh.
storefront.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is a good point. Yeah,
So how would you like to change it?
only harvesting, Sam Alexander, mowing his field. Um,
I think shellfish is the
Marine harvesting?
marine harvesting. Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, so I will move with that change.
Second.
All in favor?
I do
Does that
want to
make
point
sense?
out that Monique Coombs and Matt Gilly reviewed these letters, and I appreciate their assistance.
Good.
I did notice that, I was reading Brunswick Scuttlebutt, and they don't mention Harpswell, they just mention County Harbor.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
I was reading it yesterday somewhere, and I go, oh, Brunswick Scuttlebutt, and I go, they're talking about all the stuff going on in Brunswick and County Harbor.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We will certainly budget, we didn't have these budgeted for this year, but we're going to budget for much more because they are popular. And maybe at some point, we'll be able to mail them to people, but at least right now, we can direct them to our website that has the policies that the select board
Right.
adopted, Scuttlebutt, and also the more simpler pamphlet that still also flies off the shelf as well.
Great.
The other matter that I had was for the select board to open bids for the fence gate because they were due today, but there are no bids received. So would you be down at the community garden? Would you be willing to authorize it to be transported to the transfer station at this point? We tried the public bid process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't take it to Grimmel's, they don't take things like that, it gets blown.
Right.
It's caught in the grinder.
Put free on it.
Barb.
Take it down
But
to,
but our transfer station will separate it and the bars will go to the metal.
Oh,
And
you
then
can, you
this-
can take, apparently fence, you can take down to Freeport, to the junkyard down there, and they'll pay you for it. So I understand.
Were you volunteering? Otherwise,
know.
I'm not.
I don't make a road drag out of it.
well, maybe,
mean-
next meeting, possible updates on the Potts Point Wharf, if, anything new from the insurance company or FEMA or anything like that?
And also, I wrote down while you were all discussing the administration building, you must want an agenda item about
Yeah.
your standards that you're
Yeah.
going to put out there for that.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Give it time to write a book. Other than that, anything?
No.
Anything? Let's go
No.
home. It's dark out.
I
At this
know.
point,